All right, good evening, guys. Welcome back to the Rotoballer PGA Show. I am Ian McNeill, here as always with my co-host Matt Miller. Usually we're live 7:30 at night. I just literally got out of the car from Orlando, so apologies for being a little late there. I know scheduling's not been the most consistent over the last kind of couple weeks, but yeah, just got back from Bay Hill. Me and Matt both had close calls yesterday. Hit at the Cognizant, so yeah, a little bit of a honestly kind of a dampered Sunday afternoon for me. One of the worst beats I've had personally. I had a little live Lowry taking at 35-1. So I'll let Matt talk for a bit, and then we'll talk about the day at Bay Hill and just the API in general.
Yeah, you definitely probably had it worse than me yesterday. I mean, I kind of knew going into the day that it was going to be an uphill battle just because Smotherman was, I mean, number one, he was like 170-1, but number two, he was leading after the first round. He had a 36-hole lead, shared the lead after 54. Him going wire to wire just seemed like it was not. It was going to be a tough ask. I'll give him credit. He hung in there. He never at any point really like fell apart or ejected. Even when he made kind of mistakes, he tended to bounce back with, like following it up with a birdie or making, kind of a big par putt. So he kind of did all I could have asked for him this week. Just didn't kind of have enough on Sunday, but feel like again another close call. The process has been pretty good. We just haven't gotten one across the finish line on my end yet.
Yeah,
for you, I can't even really imagine what that was like from the 16th tee on.
Yeah, that was about as heated I think as I've ever gotten after a tournament. That was pretty brutal. I was in the media center, and frankly, I was kind of preparing for the winner's press conference. Not that I knew it was gonna be Lowry, but I was kind of preparing myself. I was gonna go. I was gonna stay in the ballroom and ask the winner some questions and whatnot, along with the rest of the media. And I saw the water ball in 16. I was like, oh, that's not good, but we can recover from that. Makes double, and then as soon as the ball hit the water on 7, or really like halfway through the ball flight on 17, I just started trying to pack my things. I'm like, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I'm happy for Nico. Like, I know he's a popular pick in the industry, and like, congrats to people that had him because I think he made a lot of sense last week. And if you look at our model from last week, I think he was like top 4 or 5.
I think we mentioned them too. Both kind of just like not like in depth, but I think we both kind of said like, he makes a lot of sense, and then kind of skipped over.
Yeah, which in a way kind of hurts more. Also, kind of hurts that like it's the first time I was on site for Rotoballer, and then like, betting outright golf, you learn how to like lose pretty quick. Like you're just gonna lose more than you win. It's just the game we play. But so like if Lowry goes out there on Sunday and he shoots like even par, just doesn't have it that day, makes a bogey or two to start the round and never kind of gets back into it, I'm fine with that. But for him to be like minus 7,000 live and then in 2 swings basically just throw 3 shots away with 3 to play.
It was. I mean, not to rub kind of salt on the wound, but he was the only water ball off the tee on 16 all week.
I mean, I think he shanked it. To be honest, I think it was like a mini shank. I mean, that went like 220 yards, like dead right. Like never had a chance of finding land.
And then 7. I mean, I get like after 16, I guess he was just like kind of just in his head. But I mean, the tee shot on 17 too was like
horrendous.
Nico had taken an aggressive line and like almost went. I mean, Lowry was like 20 yards right of the green.
Oh yeah.
That was like nowhere close.
Nico was definitely like holding his breath as the ball was in the air.
Yeah.
Lowry, as soon as he made contact, Lowry was like, "Oh, that's dead." So almost as bad as Stenger, who like put it in someone's backyard. Like,
yeah.
So, but yeah, I was pretty distraught. I did not want to go on Twitter this morning because I knew that Nico was a popular bet. So hopefully that stuff is washed away because I'm going to be eternally triggered about the 2026 COG. But we move on, and I guess classic loser statement after we lose outright golf bets. Process is great. Models dialed in. Just gotta get one across the line. So that's the trend, and it was nice that I got to go outside and be at Bay Hill all day. That kind of took a lot of the sting out of it. So
Yeah, what was the how was the experience, I guess, other than like the Lowry collapse in person at the
Oh
Cognizant?
yeah,
Because I actually thought that this year, like it seemed like it played a little bit tougher than the previous two. There was a little bit of bite to the
yeah,
course, and obviously Sunday they had kind of the lift, clean, replace, which changed things a little bit. But I thought actually for the first three rounds, I mean, it wasn't like the old Honda, but I thought it played, fairly tough and was a pretty good
yeah.
watch.
No, you're definitely Friday or no, definitely Thursday afternoon and then all day Friday. It was kind of reminiscent of like classic Honda. Thursday morning was a little bit different because the wind died down and it's always softer on the mornings anyway. So that's why you saw Smotherman and Nico go off and shoot 62, 63. I believe that's what they shot on day one. And then after that, I think there's a lot of guys on Twitter with first round leader sweats, and that was never a sweat because no one in the afternoon
Yeah.
wave got better than 4 under par. I think Smith like touched 5 or 6, and then he immediately went back down. So definitely like Friday was the hardest of the 4 days for sure. And then um, on Saturday again they had to play in the morning because of the afternoon rains. So again, soft conditions. It's less windy in the morning, so they took the place apart before it rained, and then after it rained, of course, Sunday preferred lies, like you said, softer greens, like it was point and shoot. So, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that has to do with the weather. Like, I would have loved to see like 4 days of like if it would have stayed like Friday was. I think that would have been the most compelling test we could have gotten. But yeah, definitely, I think they definitely made a bit of they definitely put a bit more emphasis on like making it more difficult because I think they got a lot of flack from like not only players but some of the local community. Like it's very rare that like you hear players in press conferences pretty outspoken about like I wish it was back to the old setup. So I
Yeah.
think the organizers like I was there on Tuesday or I was there on Wednesday and it was pretty clear like they were not watering the greens. They were firm coming out on kind of Thursday Friday. So yeah, hopefully that's a sign of things to come because I think yeah certainly that golf course it it can be like one of the more difficult tests on tour, but it could also play like TPT Twin Cities and just again like if it's soft, the water almost doesn't come into play unless you're Shane Lowry, I guess. But yeah, I mean, you look at some of like you look at some of the dispersions on like 15, 16 over the weekend, 17 over the weekend. Like the Bear Trap really wasn't playing to the full extent of his difficulty over the course of the weekend. So, but
For
only so
sure.
much you can do when it dumps rain like it did on Saturday. It kind of is what it is at that point. It's Florida in early spring, so always got to prepare for that. But yeah, in terms of the experience at Cog, it was really nice. I think I kind of like the fact that it was a little bit my first time on site wasn't like a signature event because it seems like everybody basically all the fans were basically just following Brooks the entire week. So like I got to get pretty up close and personal. Not like talking to these guys because it's the competitive round. But I got to like see Thor for like 4 or 5 holes up close. Tom Kim, who wasn't playing very good, for 4 or 5 holes up close. Got to follow David Ford, who was a former top amateur. Gordon Sargent. So just like a lot of like the under the radar guys that only like we really care about. I got to kind of follow and get pretty well acquainted with. So that was a lot of fun. And then of course, this week the exact opposite because everyone you see is pretty much a marquee name on site this week.
Yeah, that's going to be an awesome experience for you. I mean, I've been one time, but obviously not through like the media pass credentials, and also not with this kind of field strength. So this is going to be a really exciting week. I'm looking forward to it a lot. This is one of my favorite tournaments of the year, so I'm very jealous that you're there in person this week.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, we gotta hook it up in the future for sure. Get a couple of the Rotoballer guys down for a tournament somewhere that makes sense for all of us. I know you're in PA and Spencer's on the West Coast and I'm in the Southeast, so it's kind of a little tough to like really convene. But yeah, I'm sure we can find somewhere to meet up at some point. But yeah, Bay Hill, I agree with you. I think it's one of the more compelling tests of the season. I think not only because it's so difficult, but because you can make an argument for a lot of different skill sets this week. We've
Yeah.
seen like the classic like bomber win, and like on like a US Open style setup, like a Bryson, a Rory. Obviously, Tiger's had a ton of success here. And then last year, you have the top three guys on the podium were Russell Henley, Colin Morikawa, and Corey Connors. So all like, shorter positional ball strikers with hit or miss putters. So yeah, a lot of I think arguments can be made this week. And we'll get into the model. I kind of want to pick your brain because we haven't really talked at all thus far this week about Bay Hill. So I've got a kind of a list of stats here. I don't know if they're going to be exactly what you're kind of looking at, but we'll find a way to build a model here, a rudimentary model. So first stat of the week that you're looking for at Bay Hill, if you had to weight it at the top of your list.
I will go with whatever. I don't know what you have built into like your stat categories, but like a total driving maybe, or that for me is going to be kind of number one. I mean, you touched on it already, where we've seen both ways work. With the longer hitters, kind of taking advantage of the distance here. And then there's more accurate hitters who are playing out of the fairway, which is obviously a huge advantage as well. But either way, I think you're going to have to find a way to be good off the tee this week if you want to have any chance to compete and win.
100% agree. I think the primary defense of this golf course is off the fairways, basically. Like, it's either like you really cannot afford to like live out of the rough this week. A lot of weeks on the PJ Tour, you see like you're following your on Tourcast and it says 295 yards into the right rough, and you're like, oh, it's okay, he can still hit the green from there. This week, you see that like pop on your screen. It's basically you're automatically bracing for like the inevitable 12-foot par putt because like that's what's coming to you. So yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of merit to driving this week. I think it has honestly cases like maybe the most important skill. I was talking to JJ Jakovic, who is Colin Morikaw's former caddy. Now he caddies for Michael Thurber Bronson, and he was pretty adamant. Yeah, you got to keep the ball in play. Even talked about putting a mini driver in their set. Michael carries a mini driver, and they're going to be hitting that off quite a few tees this week with his speed. They feel like he can still keep the ball in play and then, not lose too much in terms of distance to some of the top guys. So definitely, definitely a lot on the minds of a lot of the guys this week. You took my number one pick. I was definitely going to go for total driving as well. I'll go for I'm always like in the camp of like proximity splits. So we're going to kind of split this up a bit. Usually it's 25% for the first pick in these kind of model drafts. But I'm going to go 12.5% to 150 to 200, and then 12.5% to 200 plus proximity splits over the last 18 months. I think this is a big time. I mean, I don't know exactly what the specs are this week, but it's like somewhere in the 7,500 yard range at Bay Hill. So as you expect, not a lot of wedge opportunities. Basically every par 3 on this golf course is over, 180 yards, it feels like. And then, of course, ton of like 480 yard par 4s, 4 par 5s this week as a par 72. So, you're really going to have to make your hay kind of from that 150 and above range, middle irons, long irons, into these greens. So, I don't think it's going to be obviously not going to be quite as point and shoot as like a last week where I think iron play was like the definitive factor in like finding success, because like the greens were receptive enough to where you can kind of attack pins. I think a lot of guys this week are kind of going to be playing from like the middle of the green and using the old Brooks Koepka strategy of like, middle of the green, aggressive to conservative target, 15 feet right or left, and then trying to make, a mid-range putt. But yeah, certainly going to have to be proficient with the longer irons this week.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, it's obviously so penal around here that if you're missing greens, you're in a ton of trouble. So
yeah,
I'm with you on that. That would be my my next choice if I had one as well.
Cool.
I will go into I'll take putting on Bermuda.
Yes.
You kind of talked about the par putts guys are going to be seeing this week, just kind of with the nature of this tough course. You're going to have a lot of putts to save par, and just kind of are going to have to take advantage of any, kind of birdie luck that you get out there. So I think that's going to be crucial this week for, anyone who wants to have a chance to win. They're going to need to putt pretty well.
Yeah, we're kind of reading each other's mail. I already had fast Bermuda putting readings or fast Bermuda putting splits over the last 5 years already loaded in the model system here. That's the primary defense of this golf course's greens. Like, they're not the most undulated greens on tour, but they consistently run among the fastest we see all year. Of course, Bermuda grass is going to be the predominant strain down here as well on these greens. So certainly I think putting's important this week. I think you're going to get a lot of podcasts and shows and articles this week that are kind of going to lean into like the team no putt guys. Obviously, Corey Connors has played really well. Collins played well here in the past. We've seen maybe some less than stellar putters perform well here. But I'm going to kind of have another anecdote from the course. I talked to JJ Jakovic, who's Michael Thorbjornsen's caddy. I spent more time talking to Mr. Thorbjornsen, Michael Thorbjornsen's dad, who I believe is still involved in this coaching in some respect. I don't know exactly the dynamic on his staff, but he basically he laid it out. He was like, it's so difficult to get the ball close this week that he thinks it's like the winner has to like gain strokes putting, because you have to make like your share of 15 to 20 footers, because even if you're striking the ball well, like you're just not going to see like the same amount of like birdie putts inside 8 feet as we saw last week. You know, you can't just purely ball strike your way to a score here. It feels like to go even remotely low, like those mid-range putts kind of have to fall. So I'm right there with you. I think I'd be looking, even like if we're gonna like get super in the weeds, if we're looking at iron stats, I would almost be looking for like GIR percentage from like 200 yards plus, you know, and just like who's gonna just avoid the mistake, and then, you know, eventually, I think it's gonna be a contest of like, number one, who hits the most greens, and number two, who kind of makes those mid like 15 to 25 foot putts. That would be kind of my assessment. And obviously to hit greens, you have to hit fairways, so it kind of all trickles down there. So, but yeah, I'm right there with you with the putting splits. I'm going to go. Yeah, you've kind of already. I mean, I feel like we could make a pretty good model of what we've got already. I'm going to go just general tee to green play. I like to do this whenever we get to a golf course that I feel like does do a good job of kind of separating the haves from the have-nots on tour, and I think Bay Hill certainly does that. You think about like the past champions here; it's a lot of Scotty Schefflers, Russell Henleys, Bryson DeChambeau's, Rory McIlroy's, Tyrrell Hatton's. You know, like elite tee to green entities in this game, and it's just a week where if you just don't possess those gifts, the like upper echelon like ball striking, you're just going to fall by the wayside, I think. And especially, you know, some of the shorter hitters, more inaccurate hitters, guys that are, you know, tend to maybe, you know, tailor more their way around a golf course. I you know, the broadcast last week brought up like Taylor Moore's driving actually splits like 20 times over the course of the weekend, but he was like hitting 35% of his fairways and somehow was like T4 on the leaderboard, or he was sharing the lead at some points on Sunday. Don't think that's an avenue this week. You have to be dialed in from tee to green. So last 75 rounds, strokes gained tee to green. Just that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, like you said, I mean, I think we have a pretty strong group of stats right now for what I'm really honing in on. I guess I don't know where you stand this week on around the green play. We'll add it in, I guess, as the final like 10%. I think it's going to be a little bit tougher maybe to like predict this week, because you got that thick rough around the green, and it's not going to be kind of as straightforward as maybe other weeks looking at those stats. But I think it is going to be obviously still important, just with longer approach shots in general. Guys are going to hit less greens than, you know, on a different style course where you're, you know, just hitting greens and making a ton of birdies, as you stated before. So I think it is going to be obviously important on a tougher course and a longer test. So I will add that in for my final stat.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, the GIR percentage here is way below tour average. So like clearly you're going to need to possess some sort of short game acumen. The only thing I kind of would push back on in terms of like really waiting around the green, which we're only waiting at 10% this week or in this modeling, so it's not like it's a huge segment of it. But I do think it does become a bit random around the greens here because of the thick rough that surrounds this. So you can get lies that you can actually work with, and you can get lies that, like, you know, it doesn't matter if you're Scotty Scheffler or the worst around the green player in the world. Like, you're just not really going to have much of a chance to get it, you know, inside 3 or 4 feet. So that would be my only pushback. I actually weighed bunker play in my own personal modeling because I do think that the predominant like skill separator this week around the greens is kind of bunker play. There's, I think, 53 or 54 bunkers guarding these greens. So you're going to see a lot of sand shots, and especially onto these like really fast putting surfaces, guys that can consistently, like, you know, hit high quality sand shots, I think are going to be at a big advantage. That's probably your most consistent way, I think, to gain around the greens.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. And I think it's far more predictive to your point. You know, when you're in the bunker, you know, you're in the bunker for the most part. Obviously, if it gets plugged or whatever, it's a different story. But to your point, you know, And that's kind of why I was hesitant to put it in there in the first place with just this thick rough. I think you bring up a very valid point that it's guys are going to be catching kind of different type of lies, and it's going to be there is going to be an element of sort of randomness to it.
Yeah, I mean, we're using stroke gain around the greens, which does encompass bunker play. It kind of encompasses everything. So it's I think it's worth adding to the model and seeing, because obviously like Scotty Scheffler still has a better chance of getting strokes around the greens than say Corey Connors does this week. Like it's not completely just a complete crapshoot. But I think context is required. And if you want to, again, like we'll just dive into like another deep cut stat that I kind of pulled. Like if you want to like sort particularly by like courses recently with thick rough, like Bay Hill, Muirfield Village, I think suits this. Some of the past like US Open venues and PGA Championship like Oak Hill, I think would fit this really well. Like golf courses that like tend to guard their greens with thick rough, I think guys that consistently excel at that type of test around the greens can you can maybe make some merit for this week. In a very similar course vein to kind of what we're talking about, I think there's two golf courses on the PGA Tour that really ask very similar questions of players. Just in general, like I think Bay Hill and Muirfield Village are. I know the agronomy is not the same. It's not the same part of the country, but like when you talk about total driving, like golf courses that are wide enough to like separate driving accuracy. You talk about a place like Torrey Pines that like the fairways are so narrow that like nobody hits fairways almost, and so it kind of de-emphasizes accuracy in a way. Whereas a place like Bay Hill, where you do have kind of room to operate, Muirfield Village, very much the same thing. Where like the guys that hit it straight can still hit fairways, and the guys that hit it wayward are harshly punished. You have that kind of that through line of I think total driving is really important to both golf courses. Again, both middle to long iron fests, difficult to hit greens, around the green play, maybe a little bit, a little bit more of a no putt contest. I think at Muirfield Village than it is here, but I think the corollaries are enough to where I'm grouping course history at Muirfield Village and Bay Hill. I think there are enough through lines there to where we've seen Scheffler, Hovland, Morikawa, Fitzpatrick. A lot of these guys have played well routinely at the same kind of setup. So I am putting course history. Bay Hill's a pretty predictive golf course year to year in course history, and then I'm going to lump Muirfield in because I do believe it's a very it's worth a place in this model. So that's going to be.
I like it.
It always makes me name the model and I forget to. So, but we have a 25% weight on total driving, 25% weight on approach splits. That's split between 150 to 200 and 200 plus. 15% weight on fast Bermuda putting last 5 years. 15% on just general tee to green play, and then 10% on course history, along with Muirfield Village history, and then strokes gained around the greens as well. So we will pull up the model here. And I've got a million tabs open because I did not organize beforehand. Let's see here. Okay. We can share this screen. I think this is the one. All right. Hopefully I picked the right screen. It looks like I did. Okay, yeah. All right, so number 1 is Scotty Scheffler. Number 2, Siwoo Kim. Number 3, Matt Fitzpatrick. Number 4, Keegan Bradley, which is, I think, a bit surprising. Number 5, Russell Henley, past champion here, checks out. Number 6, Ludwig Oberg. We'll get to him in a second. Kitayama, another past champ here. Number 7, McElroy, number 8. Ben Griffin, number 9. Tommy Fleetwood, 10. Colin Morikawa, 11. Hovland, 12. Schauffele, 13. Gerard, 14. Connors, Cantley, Thor Bjornsson, Matsuyama, Mitchell, and Sungjae Im. Dan Lowry there rounds out the top 20. I think this is probably the best model we put together, I'm going to be honest with you, in terms of just like similarity to what I feel like the odds board is, and a lot of maybe some guys down the board I'm actually a little intrigued by.
Yeah, I would agree. I know last week we were a bit surprised looking at the results. I don't think so much this week.
Chris Ventura number 1 did not work out, by the way. Yeah. Overall did not check out.
Did we have Nico was on there, right?
He was top 5. No, we
so
definitely
we
both
claim some sort of victory on it, but
we both definitely ignored him when he was, and decided to bet. I decided to bet Johnny Kiefer at 45 to 1 instead.
Yeah, I mean, I think Keegan definitely a little bit surprising to see him that high, but for the most part, this feels like a lot of the names that I would have expected to see on here.
Yeah, Keegan surprisingly number 2 in strokes gained on the greens last 75 rounds. Yeah, a lot of green for Keegan. Not really, the caliber ball striker of a Scheffler or a Siwoo or even Fitzpatrick recently. But yeah, certainly kind of, I think the around the green play, general TD green play, kind of holding him up there. And I remember Keegan actually did make not like a legit run, but he was kind of one of the guys that went out early last year and like all of a sudden like put together 4 or 5 birdies early on. I feel like he's done it a few times around Bay Hill. So yeah, I mean Keegan, great ball striker historically, so not a crazy surprise. But yeah, that's the general model this week. Obviously, Spencer puts up his a much more comprehensive model on the Rotoballer site every single week. So make sure to follow him for all things modeling. As I'm trying to stop sharing screen. Okay, there we go. All right, so that is the course, Bay Hill. Anything else you have to add about the golf course for moving to odds boards?
No, I mean we can move into the odds. I would say this is probably my favorite tournament of the year. That's like a non-major, or I guess kind of excluding the players as well. But this is probably my favorite kind of normal stop there is. So I'm definitely very excited for this week.
I like the fact that it seems Bay Hill's not afraid to like kind of rock the boat a little bit and like upset PJ Tour pros. Like we've had a fair few complaints from guys who go out there and they don't feel like it's a fair test, and they got kind of battered up by the golf course. And I think we do kind of need that. I feel like these guys are for lack of a better term coddled a lot of weeks where a lot of decisions made by Tour are kind of trying to keep the peace. But credit to Bay Hill, like they don't really care. They want it to play difficult. And I mean, frankly, if it was me, like Bay Hill might be the last course on tour I'd actually want to play myself because I feel like I would just have zero fun the entire day. But in terms of watching on TV, I agree with you. I think it's one of the more compelling golf courses we have all year.
And to your point there, I mean, I think it's going back a few years, but I think when Hatton won back in 2020, was it, or 2021, whatever year that was, it actually, I think it played tougher than maybe all the majors or 3 out of 4. Yeah, so they're not afraid to, and that obviously there was some wind and stuff that came into play that year as well. But yeah, they're not afraid to test these guys out there, which is always fun to watch. I mean, especially for us as fans because we're just watching on TV. Well, you'll be in person this week, but we don't actually have to go out there and play. So it's nice to see some carnage.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this before on like shows before, but like I feel like I've been to enough PGA Tour courses where I like you look around, you're like, okay, I can get it around here. You know what I mean? Like I can look like a golfer on this particular setup. Not shoot great, but I can shoot something in maybe the low 90s or something if I have a nice day. You walk around Bay Hill and you're like, I've got zero chance. Like I would get mauled by this golf course. I might sell my clubs like at a pawn shop on the way home if I had to play this golf course every day. So credit to the membership. I don't know how they do it, to be honest with you. I personally don't like ankle deep rough and greens that read at 14 or 15 on a good day, but yeah, more power to them, I guess. But yeah, that's a good point about wind. I do need to check the wind around Bay Hill because that's when it really can get ridiculous. But let's move on into, of course, the odds board. Number 1 in our model, Scottie Scheffler. He is, again, atop the odds board. I kind of wrote up in my power rankings that I didn't feel like the gap was shrinking a bit between him and Rory. Just, if we're just judging based on the first 3 or 4 starts of 2026. But the odds disagree. They've got Scottie 3-1 all the way up maybe to plus 345 is the best I see in market on Scheffler. Rory is the clear second favorite, but he can be found as high as 10-1 right now on FanDuel. So there is obviously still a big gap in the book size. Obviously, Scheffler has won this tournament twice in the last 4 years, so that has obviously a lot to do with it. But Rory, also a past champion here at Bay Hill, albeit I think he won like 17 under par or something of that to that extent. Like he won back when Bay Hill was kind of a little bit of a softer test, but still plenty of a past pedigree to like about both guys. What are your feelings on Scottie versus Rory? Obviously, from a betting standpoint, it's hard to click the plus 300 or plus 345. But when it comes to without markets, when it comes to potentially putting a wager down on one of these two guys, do you have a lean or kind of what are your general feelings at the top?
Yeah, I haven't placed any bets yet, but I'm
I'm thinking hard about Rory, to be completely honest. I thought going into this week, just because of kind of Rory's history here too at Bay Hill. I mean, he's a past champion, like you said, but I think I forget the exact number, but he hasn't finished worse than like 20 something here in any of his starts. So he plays really well around here. I actually thought that before the odds came out, I'm not shocked by Scotty's number, but I thought that we would see Rory at like a 8 or like 850. I'm kind of surprised to see double digits available on his name, and not that 10-1 is a price that I'm necessarily jumping at, but it definitely has me thinking hard about it. That I think it's a pretty fair number for him. I don't think that, you know, the gap is that big, to your point. I know Scotty's obviously had great success here, but he's struggling a little bit coming in his last, couple starts. I guess it really was kind of just first round stuff in Phoenix and at Pebble, but even last start he didn't look right, and that was a course that we kind of both were really scared of him going into the week. And Rory on the flip side is playing great. Obviously played really well at Riviera. We talked about it at Pebble. I mean, he was really 2 holes away from being, right in the mix with a chance to win that thing. He had that hole 4 on Saturday, and then I think 18 Friday or Saturday too, where he put up like a double or a triple. So, he's playing really well right now. He's hitting it really well. This is a course that he likes a lot. So I'm thinking about him pretty hard this week.
I am too. That's not to say I'm not scared of Scotty, because I think this is Scotty's, like, we talked about like the 3 lines between this and Muirfield Village. I think he's got a much better chance of winning this week than he does next week, personally. I know he's won the Players twice, but I think this is just a golf course that suits his suitability so well. Like he's struggled with the irons, and that's the key thing. Like Scotty Scheffler, like for 3 or 4 years now, we're just kind of used to him banking like a stroke per round at least on approach. And over his last 2 starts, he's actually, I think, rated out either negative or very, very slightly positive between Pebble Beach and Riviera when you combine those 2 approach splits. So, certainly one of the, like just a weird blip in Scotty's profile. Of course, he's putting it amazingly. His chipping is always good, and his driver is maybe the best on tour right now. This is a week where I feel like if the irons come back, like this could get ridiculous and Scotty could win by like 6 shots. So I'm very, very like scared of that possibility. But again, I think I would rather than bet him at plus 345, I think I would just rather bet in the without Scotty market. If that makes sense. Like I think that's maybe better if I do really want to kind of fade, or not fade Scotty, but like take Scotty off the board. Yeah, I think I would rather just bet the without market. But to your point with Rory, I like him a lot this week, and I think an underrated facet of kind of Rory's development, really of the last maybe 6 to 8 months, his driver straightened out a lot. Last season, he had an amazing season last year, of course, but he was 176th out of 180 players in driving accuracy last year. This year, over his last 11 starts worldwide, he's hovered like right around or even above field average in each of those like 11 starts. He's only really had 1 blip with driving accuracy, and that's when he lost. He was 6.8% below the field average at the Dubai Invitational to start the year. But since then, it's been very, very promising with the driver. He's straightened out it a lot. I think you can make the argument he's one of the better total drivers of the golf ball on tour, because he already has an established distance. And now if the accuracy is even like field average, all of a sudden he becomes like a legit weapon, of course, off the tee to gain strokes. So we know the approach play has been great. I think he's been 3rd in the field in both his last 2 starts, Riviera and Pebble, and then you come to a golf course here where greens are firm. You have a lot of middle to long irons. His ability to launch the ball up in the air, I think that huge apex height that he has is going to suit this golf course really well. And the putting and the chipping leave no real holes either. So I think that the profile is pretty spotless for McIlroy. And like you said, he's 10-1, which, yeah, it's an expensive price, but you can still kind of fit Rory into a card. Like you can still bet Rory at 10-1 and then I forget what I got him at Riviera. I think it was something like 13 or 14 to 1.
Yeah, you got a better number than me because I don't think I could find better than like a 11 or something, and I think you managed to find like a 13 or a 14, which is why I ultimately left him off and you were on him. And then I thought on Sunday I'm like, oh man, this is happening again.
Yeah. But unfortunately, Jacob Bridgman had the ball striking week of his entire life, so couldn't take advantage of that. But my point is, like, even a 10 to 1. You can bet Roy at 10 and then still kind of fit in like a 30 to 1 or like a 40 to 1 golfer. You don't have to like just single bullet Roy at this price, at least for the way I bet.
Yeah, it's not like a Scheffler type situation where like, all right, well, that's my week. Yeah.
Exactly. So I do think he's at a spot where I think he's fittable in a card, and I'm absolutely considering him. It's probably the reason why I haven't bet a lot of the guys that I like in the 20, 30 range.
Yeah, that's totally me too, where it's kind of like I don't know what I'm going to do up top, so I can't really I haven't decided fully in like this next really range or two yet because I'm unsure what kind of room I'm going to have.
Got you. Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. But if you want to bet Rory right now, 10 to 1 is the best price you can find. It's on FanDuel. I saw an 11 to 1 early in the day, and I kind of knew that number was not going to stick around. And I just, for whatever reason, I didn't bet it because I still had a little bit of, I still didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. And now, of course, it's gone. So we're going to have to settle for 10 to 1 is the best in market. But I still endorse that. But okay, let's talk about some more interesting names here down the board. Tommy Fleetwood comes in. I think 20 to 1 is the best number I see as of right now on Tommy. A guy who hasn't really gotten, it feels like, out of second gear all season. Yeah, he's finished 7th, I think, and 4th in his 2 starts. So, it's like the most impressive slow start. Like, he's never really had a chance to win these tournaments, it feels like. But certainly every facet of the game is working if you're kind of middling starts or still top 10s, top 5s. He's 20 to 1. Everyone's darling this week, Matt Fitzpatrick. I think 25 is the best number available on him. I kind of figured, again, like DraftKings was posting like, I think 28, like, because they do the early lines over the weekend, and Fitzpatrick was 28 to 1, and I kind of regret not pushing that button because that number is long gone, and I don't think it's coming back. 22 to 1, 25 to 1 is the best you can find a mark on him. Xander Schauffele, 25 to 1 as well. Colin Morikawa is down to 28 to 1. I believe he was 30 to 1 at some point during the day, but that has clearly been taken off the board. So Fleetwood, Fitzpatrick, Xander, and Colin. I like a lot of these guys personally, but I'd like to kind of hear what you're wrestling with from kind of 20 to 30 to 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can make the case really for all 4 of them. I'll start with Fitzpatrick. He makes a ton of sense. Obviously, he's hitting it extremely well. We've been kind of slowly talking about him all season and sort of waiting for the right time to kind of pounce on it. Seems like everyone's just sort of on board this week, which is a terrifying thing. Like, am I going to take Fitzpatrick in the week that everyone's on him at 22 to 1? It just feels like that's not going to work out for me, even though it's kind of a stupid way to think of it. Looking at the stats, obviously, there's a ton of love about him. He really is hitting it fantastic right now. Yeah. And we've been tracking that for a while. It's been putting that's really kind of been holding him back to this point, but it makes a ton of sense. You just have to you're just going to have to bite the price if you want to take him there. I'll
stop you right there because I think Fitzpatrick's worth like a bit of extra time because I think he's if you're modeling this week, I mean, I don't think there's any way you're like ignoring Fitzpatrick. Like he's like a can't miss. Like if you are looking at stats, like he is driving the ball exceedingly well. He's one of the best long iron players in this field, not only in the long term, but in 2026, he's striping his irons to a level we've never really seen. And you mentioned the putting holding him back, which I absolutely agree. I've been on Fitzpatrick at Phoenix, and I've been on him, I believe, at Riviera. And both weeks, the putter like really let him down over the course of the week. But here at Bay Hill, he has the most impressive putting resume I think I've ever seen for a golfer on a golf course. He's made 10 starts here. He's never lost strokes on the greens in any of those 10 starts. He's averaging over 1 stroke gained per round. So he's averaging 4 strokes gained per tournament in that span. And 12 months ago, here in 2025, he gained 7.22 strokes on the greens, which led the field. So like, if it doesn't happen here with the flat stick, I don't know when it's going to happen. And you couple that history with the fact that he is striping the ball like unbelievably well. I think, I mean, it would just, I understand the number sucks. And like betting Matt Fitzpatrick at 25-1 in the signature field is like, it's like pulling teeth. But man, if he wins this week and like I'm not on him, it's making me feel so stupid because like this is the spot. Like I know like maybe you can make a case for Sawgrass, Harbor Town for sure. He's got great history, but like I do feel like with the way he's playing, like where do we like Fitzpatrick? Difficult golf courses, long irons, Bermuda putting, driving accuracy. Like those are his like 4 cornerstones, and this is just check on Bay Hill. So I'm like, I think he's honestly the primary reason. Like, because I know if I bet Rory, I can't bet Fitz. So like, it's like at a point where I know it's crazy. I'm going head to head with those guys, but like the prospect of getting Fitz and Fleetwood for the price of Rory, that's kind of where I'm at right now in terms of my decision making.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we've been talking about Fitz for a while too, so it would sort of suck to just miss it because of the number, but it is kind of crazy to see him at that number and just kind of see so many people on it too. It just feels like it's fool's gold a little bit. But yeah, I've thought about him. I have not crossed him off. I think the other 3 guys we talked about are intriguing too. What do you make of Tommy? I kind of want to get your thoughts on this because it seems like he's just sort of been like the 3rd guy all year. And I mean, he still only has 1 PGA Tour win. It's in a 30-man field. I mean, is he deserving of just like that automatic 3rd spot? Or how do you kind of feel about him? Because we were sitting here, not us, but like a year ago, it would have been like, well, Fleetwood's never even won on the PGA Tour. Like, what is this? And he wins 1, tournament with 30 men in the field, and everyone just all of a sudden is like, oh yeah, this guy's like, he can win. Where do you lie?
I do understand that. I do think he's worth more merit here than maybe some other stops. Because I think, again, like this golf course is really good at separating like the haves and the have-nots from tee to green. And Fleetwood has like no holes in his tee to green profile. Like he's an amazing driver of the golf ball, like as accurate as they come in this field. The short game is just like world-class as always. And the approach play is also like well above average. I think that's probably, and he can actually putt, like unlike a lot of the guys that we like, the Colin Morikawa's the world that, just pop at every ball striking split, but you get queasy over them standing over a 6-foot putt on the weekend. So the point is well founded. I understand like the hesitancy with Tommy, where like we're in such a rush to anoint him as like one of the favorites every single week when he hasn't won. I mean, I'm looking at odds boards right now that have like defending champ Russell Henley is like double the odds of Tommy Fleetwood. So I understand it, but you just have to think like eventually, like the numbers are so good, the floor is so like just rock solid, and it's just like eventually something has to go his way on Sunday. Maybe I'm just drinking enormous amounts of copium because I love Tommy, but that's just my feeling is like you can only play this good for so long with like and not win. You know what I mean? Like it's.
Well, I think to your point. Yeah, I think to your point too. It's kind of like we talked about him being like a little bit like of a slow start to the year, but he's had good finishes. Like if you looked at his season results, he's finished well, but he hasn't really had his best stuff. So that kind of proves that like his floor, he's always going to be in it, which is obviously a huge bonus.
And this week is very much like a war of attrition, and like it's a lot about like not just eliminating mistakes, like not cutting the big number, like not getting yourself into trouble and making double bogey, triple bogey. That's really what, if you can just go through 72 holes and like not make a double, you're probably going to be in contention to win this thing. Quite frankly. And Tommy Fleetwood is he tops the charts in both like double bogey avoidance and bogey avoidance in my modeling. So, yeah, I do agree. Like, am I going to be like super comfortable when Tommy Fleetwood has a one-shot lead with like 5 holes to play on Sunday? Like, absolutely not. But this is a golf course where I think you can kind of just get by in a war of attrition and just kind of par your way to the house, which I think does suit a player like Tommy, who, historically, when he's needed to like, keep the pedal down with the lead on a Sunday, he's maybe struggled to do that. So, like I said, you can make the argument both ways. I think like if someone wanted to say like I'm just not betting Tommy at 20-1, like I would completely understand. But for me, the numbers are just kind of too good to pass up. So if I don't bet Rory, it's probably going to be Tommy and Fitz.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a strong case for all these guys. I mean, Colin, he just won. I think that's sort of, I guess, the knock on him is he going to win, 2 out of 3 events. But he is a guy that kind of can win a lot in a short period of time. We saw that back in 2021. So it's not like that's unheard of for him. And, we're asking like a first-time winner to go and win again right away. Like Colin is, when this guy's playing well, he's one of the best players in the world. So I think that totally, kind of makes a lot of sense for him too. And then I think Xander is almost sort of like the opposite.
If you want a guy that's
it's almost like he's like the opposite of Fitz, where like he's starting to trend in the right direction, but he's not really being fully paid attention to yet. And I think this is one of the things where like he's at a good number where like if he were to win this week, then we see him back down to like 14-1 at events.
Yeah. I have a lot of concerns with Xander personally.
I read the write-up, and I think that you made a lot of valid points and a lot of sense there. But this is, I feel like Xander is kind of starting to trend up right now. His last 2 starts have been positive.
They have. The floor is there for Xander. I think the floor is back. I don't think we're gonna like see like ejection Xander. What does kind of worry me, number one, is the fact that he's made 4 starts here, never finished better than 24th. So like the Bay Hill doesn't seem like, at least initially, kind of starting in 2020, that it's been a golf course he's been particularly comfortable on. Number 2, not been particularly accurate off the tee in the last kind of 6 to 12 months. And basically all my like total driving accuracy, good drive gain percentage, like all that kind of accuracy laden stuff, he's like either kind of field average or like pretty far below. And I do think that's really important this week. That's kind of one of my main tiebreakers. And then I understand like the long-term profile for Xander, like long iron play. He plays well on difficult golf courses. You trust him over a 5-foot putt for par. But like we haven't really seen like peak Xander for 18 months now.
Yeah.
Like, we talk about him as like a legit like elite long iron player, but those results are pretty few and far between for me. I don't really have him as like one of my top projected like mid to long iron players in this field. So I just think we're doing a lot of projection forward with Xander, and I just kind of want to see it. Even as this price kind of dips below, I don't think we've gotten quite to a point. I mean, he's still the 6th best player by the odds, or the 5th best player by the odds this week. So it's not like we're getting 35-40-1 on Schauffele. And again, like I'm just willing to kind of miss it if it's 25. Like if it's Fitz versus Xander at the same price, I'd much prefer Fitz, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Especially with the way they're playing right now. I think they're almost, it's like they're moving in kind of opposite directions. Fitz has been playing so well, and he's sort of like, I feel like shit, like we missed a number a little bit on him. Not that we missed it, like, but we were like, he's been playing well for long enough that now where it makes a ton of sense, the number's just not that good. Whereas Xander, from the perspective of like 2 years ago, he was going off as like the second guy every week. The value kind of feels like it's there more, but your point is very well taken that there's probably a reason for that. I mean, he hasn't shown the 2-time major winner Xander, form since he did that. So, just to kind of expect him to pop up this year and get back to that, even though he's trending a little bit in the right direction, feels like it is a little bit of a big ask, especially to your point on a course that he hasn't necessarily performed the best on in the past.
I will say, though, if he plays well this week, my attitude will shift pretty suddenly. Like, I think we are kind of like one good – because, like, to your point, he finished 19th at Pebble Beach, finished 7th at Riv. Like, it's not like he's playing horribly. I'm just not seeing the underlying stats that would maybe, like, lead me to believe he can win at Bay Hill. But if he like, finishes top 15, strikes the ball well, like, I'll be there for Sawgrass. Like, I'm all in on, like, the Xander can return to that form. It's just I'm not sure this is the week. So he would be my least favorite in that range. And then Colin, I'm kind of upset the 30-1s are gone on Morikawa, because I think my kind of dream non-McElroy card would have been like Fitz, Colin, Tommy, and then one other guy we haven't gotten to yet. Because, I mean, I was kind of anti-Colin at Riviera because I did feel like there was a pretty big like gap in class, I guess, between like Pebble Beach, which is like super like short wedge intensive, and then you get to Riviera, which is like, especially when it's playing wet, he doesn't have like the most distance off the tee, and then you feel like guys like Rory, and we saw like Rory, Kitayama, Pock Geeter, all these like Adam Scott, all these bombers kind of just had a bit of a leg up. Bay Hill, I think, is again much less of like a distance bias golf course and a place where like his accuracy can really shine through, as we saw last year. The middle long iron play was sensational at Riviera. Finished top 5 in the field on approach that week. Actually gained strokes putting as well. So we're back on Bermuda, which historically has not been a great service for Colin. But when he putts well, it doesn't really tend to matter. Like, it doesn't make much sense for Colin when it putts well. It just kind of happens. So, and he was like neutral to the field last year and finished second. So.
Oh, well, yeah, I think also like a course like this, it's kind of like one of those things where you're not going to need to get to 20 under where you have to make a ton of putts all week. Like, his ability tee to green is going to separate him to the point where like that's going to be the separator for him, where on a lot of holes you're walking away with par is a good score.
Right. Yes.
So that's kind of like an advantage for him on a course like this. It almost plays like a major where guys like that have a leg up on guys that are going to be scrambling around a ton.
Yeah. I'm with you. I do think that he is a step behind Tommy and Fitz, which the odds board does reflect that. So it's not like I'm breaking news there. But, man, I'm just kind of envisioning in my mind, like, Sunday at Bay Hill, the greens are crusty, like they're running a glass, and then Colin's sitting for a 4.5 footer for par, and I'm just like, you just know he's going to miss it. So that's kind of I've watched enough Colin Morikawa golf to maybe just be pessimistic in that, but yeah.
But imagine a flip universe that you're there Sunday, Colin wins, and you have the Colin ticket.
Yeah, dude, if you knew my track record when I actually go to events, I actually probably should have just stayed home yesterday. I already knew, like I've been there so many Sundays where things just like go horribly wrong. So if he is in contention, I might just have to stay back home, and then like if he's actually gonna win, I might just like zoom up to Orlando real quick and do the winner's press conference, because like I don't trust myself when someone I care about is in the lead. That never works out. But yeah, I mean, I think Colin is a good bet at like 28-30 to 1. But I would just prefer Fitz and Fleetwood. So he could still make for me, like I could still fit like Tommy, Fitz, Colin, and another guy at like 40 or 50 to 1 and be pretty comfortable there. So
yeah,
he is in consideration. All right, we are 54 minutes in. We've talked about like 6 golfers. So let's just we'll speed through these next few a little bit. Just kind of give you your favorite from kind of 30 to 40 to 1. I'll list maybe 4 to actually like 6 to 8 golfers. So Hideki 32 to 1, best number in market. Russell Henley 33 to 1, Siwoo Kim 35, Patrick Cantley 40, Cam Young 40, Jake Knapp 40, Bobby Mack 40, Victor Hovland 40. Again, you don't need opinions on all these guys, but Hideki, Henley, Siwoo, Cantley, Young, Knapp, McIntyre, Hovland. Is this a range you're interested in at all, or you just like kind of skip?
Well, it's so interesting because I think if we looked at this odds board like 4 weeks ago, we would have both been probably salivating over Cam Young and Victor Hovland. From a profile perspective, it makes a ton of sense. They're just they don't have it all together right now. And I feel like this is sort of like a tough place to kind of like find it and put it all together. I mean, I love Victor. I've been on Victor, but he's missing something right now. I've been riding that train right into the ground, and I mean, Cam Young too. This is like one of the courses that should theoretically set up really well for him, but he's looks a little off right now as well. It almost, I mean, in this range, I think kind of Siwoo makes he makes a little bit of sense. It still feels a little weird seeing him at this number, but he is hitting it well. I mean, he's accurate off the tee. I don't know that I see him like winning at Bay Hill, but he's still like it's hard to knock him. He keeps playing well.
Look at our body language when we look at Siwoo Kim at 35-1. We're with our hands in our faces, just like, damn it. Like it actually just lines up so well. But I mean, like, dude, the top three on the leaderboard last year were Russell Henley, Colin Morikawa, and Corey Connors. Like Siwoo Kim is like incarnate of like Connors, Morikawa. Like he's like the man, the child of those three. Like he hits it super straight off the tee. The iron play has just been out of this world good. Even in his bad results recently on the West Coast, like he's still hitting it amazingly well. Short game, I think, is super underrated as well. One of the better bunker players on tour. Doesn't get talked about a lot, but yeah, he makes a lot of sense. I mean, this feels like a place where Siwoo, like these next 2 weeks, feel like Siwoo can get back on track. I would probably say he's my favorite. I think Hideki's like due for a bad start, to be honest with you. I think this is like the blow up Hideki week where like he can't hit a fairway and then like he misses, he like loses off the tee, loses putting, his approach play is good enough and his short game's good enough, but like, he just settles in like T35, T40 all week. That kind of feels like me. And then Henley, I just don't think he's playing nearly as well as he was last year.
I think it's tough to go back to back anywhere too.
Yeah.
But
can't we?
At some point he's gonna drift to a number that's big enough where
I was gonna ask you, what number would it take? Like what number would I have to offer you right now for you to say yes, I am putting $50 down on Patrick Hanley?
I don't know. I don't know what it is because it's not 40, but
yeah, he's 60. He's 60 on
he keeps getting. I mean, I've bet him at worse numbers at like a freaking major before than this. But he's just not,
same.
He doesn't even feel like close right now. But he's gonna eventually get to a price that's so high that I'm just gonna take him again. Because when you look at the stats, like he never really looks that bad from a profile perspective.
That's the problem with Cantley is like you can always talk yourself into it, and then 4 holes into Thursday, like this was the biggest mistake of my entire life. This is gonna ruin my credibility. But Oak Hill PGA Championship 2023 when Brooks won, I stared at a 25 to like all three of these guys were 25-1. I stared at Patrick Cantley, Tony Finau, Brooks Koepka. I took 2 of them. Who do you think I took?
Well, based on the story, I'm guessing Cantley and Finau.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know, man. I guess you could make the upside case for Cam Young as you always can. He'd probably be my favorite. I will say Victor, kind of a strange story. I talked to I was about to leave because I was like, I got a show to do. It was like already 3:00. I was like, I got a little drive back. I don't want to kind of be rushing as I end up being anyway. But anyway, I walk out of the pro shop and I see it's like right next to 10T and Victor Hovland's like literally just teeing off on 10 and there's no one around him. So I'm like, well, I have to go follow Victor. So I watch him play 10. I talked to Shay Knight after he gets up 10, asked him about the rough and everything. And he kind of assured me because when I first got to Bay Hill, it was like actually kind of playing soft. And I was like, dude, if they had this tournament today, these guys would shoot like the brakes off this place. But Shay was like, it's always like this. Like as the week goes on, these greens are going to crust up and like turn purple. So that was cool. Shout out to Shay Knight. Super, super chill guy. But the crux of the story is I watched him play 10, I watched him play 11, and then he tees off on 12, which is the par 5, the third par 5 at Bay Hill. And he doesn't like wince in pain, but he goes back to his swing coach and Shay, and he was like, he was very adamant. It's like, I don't feel pain, but like I'm still hesitating to get onto my left side, which I tried to like recall back. I don't remember like him withdrawing with an injury or having like any reports of like him being injured, but it did seem like he was favoring one side or like at least like there was some hesitancy there with his golf swing. He looked fine. Like his driver swing was, his driver's going dead straight. But strange enough, he did that, like full swing of driver, then hit like a 2-iron onto the green, or like around the green. And then I was like, I was watching him kind of putt, and I went ahead and moved on to 13 because I was going to fall the whole way in. And then all of a sudden, like I'm sitting on 13 fairway, and Victor just walks off the golf course. Like, and 12 is not a hole that's like near the clubhouse. Like he had to walk kind of through like 13, 14, 15. So I don't know if like that was pre-planned, because 13 is kind of a club down hole. Like it's not really like, a hole you probably need to practice too much. Is like probably 5-iron wedge into the green. So I don't know if that was like pre-planned, but they're only going to play 10, 11, 12. But I thought it was interesting that like he kind of makes the comment about like not really feeling quite right with the last driver swing, and then walks off the course like 5 minutes later. So something to maybe monitor with Victor.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So just little nuggets you pick up when you're kind of there. Also, I would very much recommend anyone that like is a nerd like us about this stuff, like go on Monday. Like the atmosphere is so chill. You're not going to see every player. Like the players that are there, like I was behind the ropes, basically walking like down 17, the entire 17th hole with like JJ Jakovic, Michael Thorbjornsen, and like his dad. So yeah, super cool. But yeah, that was my thing on Victor. I entered the week with some, like he's played really well here, and this is like a Victor golf course. But to your point, man, like something's not been quite right with him, and after seeing that, I've kind of soured on his projection in general. All right, anyone else you want to talk about? We talked about Cam Young, your boy Robbie McIntyre, 40-1. He gets 10 strokes putting every week and like comes T20.
Yeah, I was surprised to see him at this price. I mean, I guess I don't know. He was at a pretty bad price when I was talking about Riviera too. But
yeah, you did.
But I don't think I can dive back into that twice in a row.
Yeah, dude, like I don't understand, man. Like his ball striking is just like kind of abhorrent. Like it's not been good. He's like steadily becoming the signature series event version of Taylor Montgomery. Although he's won like 3 times, so that's too disrespectful for Bobby Mack. Like I do like the kid, but yeah, I'd much prefer like a Siwoo Kim or Cameron Young. I think that's my 2 guys if I had to pick in that range.
Yeah, I think Siwoo would be my favorite in that range, which is crazy because I think even as much as like 3 weeks ago, I think Cam Young and Victor would have been automatic bets for me.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, 45-1 and beyond. Again, we don't have much more to talk about. We're not going to spend a lot of time on like Harry Hall. I don't assume, or Sam Stevens this week. So we're kind of ending the end of our show here. But Harris English comes in 45-1. I know we were both pretty high on him at Riviera. Played good, not great. Over 4 days in Pacific Palisades. Ludwig 45-1. Kurt Kitayama, past champ, 45-1. Chris Goddard, 2-time winner here, or 2-time winner this year, 45-1. Minwoo 47. Shane Lowry 48. We'll stop there. English, Ludwig, Kitayama, Goddard, Minwoo, Lowry. I'll just go ahead and admit Lowry. I'm guessing we're not going to talk about him to win.
Yeah, no, I'm not taking him.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's weird. Like I think English, I like him. He's intriguing to me, but I still just wish the number was better. I feel like it's still not like a great number for him. Like I don't think that. I feel like he should be like 65, like 70-1 in this field and not in this range. Yeah, he's playing well, and I do think he makes some sense, but I don't love the number.
He's getting a lot of respect for a guy that hasn't come top 20 all year.
Yeah.
He's finished 22nd, 24th, 28th, 22nd, 27th. The underlying stats are really good. He did come runner up here 3 years ago, but yeah.
I was surprised by the number at Riviera, and then he didn't finish that well there. It's like you said, I mean, he didn't play bad, but he didn't finish that well there. And then we kind of get like the same looking number this week, and it's like it makes it hard to click on him here, especially in this field strength. I think it makes sense, but I don't know if I'm going to get there to that number. I guess I think I know where you're going with your next selection, so I'll let you steal the show. But I'm intrigued as well.
I bet Ludwig. I found a 50. Yeah, he's the only move I've made so far. Yeah, I mean it's the same conversation we've had at Pebble Beach and Riviera, to be fair. But I do think Bay Hill is I think the best of those fits. You talk about a golf course that demands total driving, mid to long iron play, Bermuda grass putting. That was the thing that kind of tipped it over the edge for me. Was like, number one, I think he's playing better than the number indicates on Ludwig. I mean, I know he had a really bad start at Pebble Beach. He finished +3 on Thursday at Pebble. Next 7 rounds, he's finished 23 under par cumulatively. Last competitive round at Riviera, Sunday 66, made 5 birdies in the eagle, backdoor to top 20. The ball striking looks good, and shockingly, he putts really well on Bermuda grass, and particularly here. So through 3 starts in his career at Bay Hill, he's never gained fewer than 2.0 strokes on the greens. So his worst putting week of those 3 was a +2. He's averaged +3.5 per tournament over those 3 starts. 6th in my modeling in terms of fast Bermuda grass putting last 5 years. And over the last 12 months, actually the best number 1 in approach proximity over 200 yards. Of course, we know about the driving acumen. So I just think he's like the underlying stats are really, really good for Ludwig. And I don't think we're that far away from if he finished like top 10, like if he finished like 2 strokes better at Riviera, I feel like his price would have kind of tanked. And I think we kind of the last kind of couple weeks, he's played sneakily well, like gaining in all 4 categories, 37th at Pebble, 20th at Riv. Like he's turning the corner. We're not that far removed from a stretch at the playoffs last year where like we were all certain he was about to win. I know I bet him at like the St. Jude, and I bet him again at the BMW, and then he finished T3 at the year-end championships on the DP World Tour. So it's not like we've had like extended like 6-month stretch of him playing like mediocrely. It's really been like 2 bad starts, one at Amex where he withdrew, and then one at Torrey Pines. And then since then, I think he's actually found a bit of a vein of form. So I thought 50 was just a bit disrespectful, considering I think the upside we both agree is, he can lead this field in TD Green play.
Oh yeah, I'm totally with you. I think I'm looking for the best number that I can get, but I think I'm going to be on board with him this week as well. I mean, the talent is just, it's so good. And to your point, I mean, he had a bad start at Pebble, but pretty much since that second round on, he's been playing well. And he's kind of starting to find his form. And I mean, this is a guy too. You see the number that he is this week. We talked about it with Xander, and you can make that case for probably a lot of guys. But if he plays well this week and is in contention on Sunday, these numbers are erased big time.
I actually want to see what is the Masters number right now? I think it's like 25. Which that's not really indicative of like his actual odds to win, but it's crazy that he's 20 to 1 to win the Masters and like 50 to 1 to win here. Because I can actually, it's like I'll flex me being in Florida for the first time because it's like the only time Hard Rock has a good number on anybody. He's currently 50 on Hard Rock, so we can make a deal work at the end of the night. Okay, yeah, I like Ludwig a lot. I saw Kitayama hit a water ball on 17, so he's dead to me. Just kidding, but I mean, he played really well at Riviera. I have a hard time betting at 45 to 1.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Okay.
And then how about one other day? I don't want to drag on in every range too long, but I guess one guy that we have seemed to have glossed over this year. Any thoughts on Goddard this week? I kind of just seem like I always ignore him, but he has won twice. Maybe I should listen if you have something on him.
He struck the ball well. I mean, I'll say that. It's been a bit of a step back since he won twice in 3 starts, but I think with Goddard, I would much prefer him on a golf course that like he can kind of get away with murder off the tee and he just send it. Like Scottsdale, I think is a golf course where you don't really have to hit it like the straightest. Like obviously the desert is in play, but the rough penalty is much lower than it is here. Like he can kind of utilize his full distance. So I'm a little lukewarm. I understand the case. He's like 45 to 1. So I get it. I would actually kind of prefer Minwoo, to be honest with you. Who I think is a much better total driver of the golf ball than Goddard. And unlike Goddard, I think Minwoo has like elite tools on and around the greens, which not to say Goddard's a bad putter, but I think Minwoo is just on a different class when it comes to putting and chipping, which I think on a difficult setup like this carry him a long way. So obviously the iron plays much better for Chris, but if I had to pick like one of these kind of upside bets, young upside guys, 40, 50 to 1 outside of Ludwig, I think I would prefer Minwoo slightly. But I don't know how you feel about that.
No, that's fair. I think that's a That's a fair point. I don't know that I'll get there on either of them, but figured I'd bring it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, 45-1. We're approaching prices on Goddard where like I would have some intrigue. But I just don't know where he's gonna like. I don't think he's gonna win players next week. But I don't know. The conversation for another time. Okay, yeah, 50-1 and beyond. I'll list some names that I kind of interested in. Obviously Adam Scott, who played really well with Riviera. Obviously, he's like a Riviera like merchant, so he probably will not repeat that like top 5 performance he had last time. Let's go down the board. Sam Burns, 55-1 on Bermuda again. Nope. Yeah, I figured that was going to happen. Your boy Jordan Spieth, who's played well Riv through the years. I mean, 60-1. We talk about like, short game bogey avoidance. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a really Spieth guy, but I'll let you maybe make the case for that. Keegan, who's 60-1. I think this is a good spot for Sepp, who again like very much fits the vein of like a Corey Connors or Russell Henley. 66. Jason Day, yeah, we're getting to like, Corey Connors 80-1, who like plays well every single year and finishes like T4. Yeah, I don't know. Again, like this is a week there where I'm pretty locked in at the top of the board, so I don't have a lot to say outside these guys. But I mean, you have to write a long shot article here in a few hours, so kind of where are you looking in terms of like guys down the board?
Yeah, no, I think that you brought up some interesting guys. I think Sepp is someone who I thought about. I mean, Adam Scott it's weird because I do think that your point is well taken that he is like a Riviera guy. But he's been really good.
He's been really good. Yeah, his ball strike has been great.
Yeah, like off the tee and on approach, really all year he's been great. He just couldn't putt at all to Riviera. I don't know. I mean, he's hitting it so well. It's like,
yeah, that was the piece I made for him at Riv. I was like, he's like 60-1 on a golf course he likes. I didn't even bet him, but I wrote him up in my course preview article because I just thought he was way off market. And I mean, he's got decent history here. I mean, nothing like recently, but in the past, he's got a couple of like, actually not that great. He has one top 12 finish in like 7 career starts, but he won at Sawgrass, right?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, he's won at Sawgrass. He's won at PGA National, so he's got some Florida history.
Yeah, he's interesting. I
don't mind.
Yeah, I'm not totally off him yet.
I don't mind.
He's hitting it really well. It's crazy. He got the good finish at Riv. Maybe that jump starts it. I don't know.
Could happen.
I guess a few other guys. Straka is intriguing. I'm not going to touch him, but I think it'll be at least fun to watch JT his first week back. Yeah. It's really a tough kind of first step back.
I don't understand. Why don't you play Cog?
Yeah, I mean, you're walking into Bay Hill. I could see this going like very poorly for JT, but it'll be good to have him back out there. I enjoy watching him play.
Yeah.
I think they put him in a feature group too, so
oh goodness,
we're gonna have to watch. Well, I guess you'll be at the course, but I'm gonna have to watch him kind of probably shoot like 76. Yeah, I mean, it's tough on weeks like these. I find like with these the long shot articles because I'm obviously focusing on them more this year. Like last week's was a lot more fun and easier to do because it felt more wide open. And I mean, Smotherman kind of was right there with a chance on Sunday, which is all you could ask for. When you get a field that's as elite as this at the top and as strong as this, once you get past the first half of the board, I mean, there's a reason that these guys are down there. So it does get a little bit tougher. I mean, I'm more looking at kind of almost finishing places than guys who actually are going to win at like 100-1.
Yes.
I think Keith Mitchell, maybe I could see not winning, but
he played well. He did play well Honda. He did play well.
It seemed like he kind of put it together a little bit last week. He started to putt better on the weekend. He's obviously good off the tee. He's better on Bermuda. At least it seems like his best golf has been in Florida. I think he had a good finish here maybe 3 or 4 years ago. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's gonna win this tournament, but I could see him kind of being in the mix, maybe like that classic Mitchell first round lead and then fall off.
That's actually probably the best bet to make. Is can you parlay like first round leader and then like top 20? No, is that a thing?
I wish it was, because that
That'd be
would
a
be
lot
like
of fun.
fantastic. Yeah, because I remember, I mean, last year I feel like he was like
That
at
is his
least
thing.
like twice or maybe even 3 times. He was like the first round leader.
Yeah,
I remember when I went to the Truist with
yeah. That's
my dad and his buddy, and they were like, "Oh, it's Keith Mitchell guys in first." Like, and I'm like, "Just wait, he does this."
oh man, yeah. Yeah, we don't want to subject our audience to sweating a Keith Mitchell ticket on a Sunday. So you got to put like a big bold letters in long article like this is a top 10.
Yeah.
This is not right. But you're right. Top 6th and 5th is first 2 starts here, and then since 43rd, 61st, 24th. So yeah, drives the ball well every year, which is to be expected. I think the answer is kind of right in front of us. Like Corey Connors, like why is he like 80, 90 to 1 in this field at this golf course? Doesn't he just like he doesn't like this is like his most successful golf course maybe on tour outside of Valero? I mean, long irons, fairways, just kind of hit all the greens and then, finish T8 because everyone else is scrambling for a double bogey. Ryan Fox played really well at Riv. I think he finished top 15 here last year as well. So I think Fox is maybe a bit underrated on odds boards. I don't know how I feel to win, but again, like long off the tee, does have a nice short game as well as a solid approach blitz. So
yeah, I wrote him up in Riviera, and he played well. So it's yeah, I think that he would make sense here this week. What do you think of your boy now that you're in with the family, Thor Bjornsson? I mean, you love him this week.
It's funny. I actually would have probably had more conviction if I didn't see him and his dad on the golf course today. I honestly shout out to Thor Bjornsson's dad because he was like, I don't think he was actually trying to be funny. I think it was just more like he was like just venting to me because like the dude, like he is like the classic like if you were involved in a sport growing up or like got coached by your dad or whatever, like music or whatever it may be, like he's a classic like he no matter what his son does, like he's just like not happy. So he was the one that told me like you're gonna have to make like a lot of 15, 20 footers this week because you're just not going to.
Well, he probably gave that lecture earlier in the day.
Maybe he was just reiterating.
You're gonna have to make 20 footers this week.
He was, but he was rattling off the last like 5 tournaments for Michael. And it was like, oh yeah, here he had 6 3-putts this week. He had 5 3-putts this week. I remember telling him because honestly, I would have legit come on here and be like, I kind of like Thor Bjornsson's profile this week. Like he's number 1 in total driving over the last 6 months here in this field. But I was like, this is a golf course that should suit him. Like long, he's a great driver of the golf ball, good long iron player, and he was like, I think his quote was something to the effect of like, yeah, if this was a competition of who can hit the most greens in regulation, we'd have a chance. He was like, unfortunately, you have to get the ball in the hole this week.
That's incredible.
And I was like, this guy's electric. I need to have him on the podcast like as soon as possible. And then we get on 17, and like he's like kind of ranting about like how like poorly the last few weeks have gone. And then Michael gets on 17, which is like a 220-yard par 3, like not easy, water short. And like stripes like I think a 7-iron or 6-iron to like 15 feet right behind the hole. And everyone on the tee box is like, oh, good shot. And then his dad chimes in. He was like, I thought you were gonna hit a cut. And and JJ, Michael's caddy, was like, well, he's like, it did cut, like, because the wind was blowing right to left. He's like, for fly that straight in a left to right wind, it has to, or a right to left wind, it has to have some cut spin on it. And like he was like, he couldn't get off the fact that like his son said he was gonna hit a cut into the green, like the ball didn't cut. And eventually JJ just like walked off the tee, and that's what I got my like kind of few questions in with JJ, but like. He was like muttering under his breath, like something to the effect of like, I can't deal with this guy anymore. My guy just hit like 10 feet from like 220 yards, and like we get chirped from his dad.
This sounds true. You might need to follow him again tomorrow and just see what else this guy has to say.
He's like, I forgot his dad's first name. I think it's a short first name, but yeah, he was electric. He gave me so much time. I think again, just looking for someone to talk to, and I just happened to be there. But yeah, the first thing I said to him, because I noticed like he was kind of hobbling. We're way off topic, but he was kind of hobbling behind the group. So I kind of noticed him before he came to the green when Michael and JJ and Kadiyama were all there. And I literally saw Michael hit like 3 shots, like one on 15, the drive on 16, and the second shot on 16, and he missed it like short right in the rough. And I was like, oh, Michael looks like he's playing well. And his first word to me was like, really? Like, you think so? I was like, yeah, I've seen him hit 3 shots, but yeah, we got to talking about just God knows what. But yeah, Mr. Thor Boynton, shout out to you, man. You made my day, and you're the reason I'm kind of late to this podcast, but that's completely fine. But yeah, Michael, not at least in his camp, not a lot of confidence with a putter right now. Going on in Thor Bjornsson household. So something to watch. Keep count of his 3 putts, because I know you won't be the only one.
That's a great story.
Yeah, Thor Bjornsson's dad. We call him a tiger dad in Asian cultures, but I don't know what it is when it's Scandinavian. So anyway, we're way off topic. We're almost an hour and a half in. Just talk about you haven't made any bets yet. So right now, are you thinking about locking anything in? Kind of where's your head at after an hour and 20 minutes of conversation?
I'm gonna join you on Ludwig.
Cool.
I'm probably gonna get sucked into Adam Scott, and then I'm gonna come back on the show next Monday and be like, I'm done with Adam Scott, and then he's gonna hit it well enough where in like 2 more weeks or a month, I'm gonna be back on him again. The cycle will continue. I think there's still I still have to make some decisions up top whether I want to take the punt. I mean, if I go with Rory, obviously that's going to take a lot of room out of the rest of the card.
Yeah. If you don't bet Rory, who like what's your like the 2v1 like Rory versus this and this player? Like if you don't end up on a Rory.
If I don't end up on Rory, I think it would be. And Fitz makes a lot of sense. It's just everyone on Fitz at like 25-1 just feels like we're asking for a disaster. I think actually shockingly, if I don't bet Rory, I think I would probably end up on Siwoo Kim.
I agree. I agree with that. I'm swimming around that as well. Yeah. So you would go like Fitz, Siwoo.
Yeah, and then I'd probably have room for someone. Yeah, Ludwig, maybe even. If there's anyone else that kind of stands out in their range as well, and then take a dive on like an Adam Scott or something to round it out. Do you think do you think you're going to land now with Tommy and Fitz or Rory? Where have you made a choice yet?
No, honestly, as we sit here and talk about it, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking just like go in kind of light, and then just hope Scotty Scheffler shoots 73 on Thursday, and then just get him at like 16-1. That's my. Like, because if like we get the Scotty lag this week in round 1, as long as it's not like super like as long as it's not like T80 or T70, like I would actually really consider.
Well, what's interesting about that point, I think when I went in 2022, it was when Scotty won. I want to say he was like 1 over or something on the first day because the winning score was not very low, and he kind of came back, and it was like one of those things where like no one was. I mean, some guys were, but like anyone kind of hanging around par was in the tournament because it was playing tough. So there is kind of some room for you have a good weekend, and all of a sudden you find yourself right back in on that Sunday.
Yeah, that might actually be the angle because I really can't make heads or tails right now. Like I don't know if I want to commit the funds to McIlroy right off the bat 10-1, and then. Look, I like Fitz, but I acknowledge all the bear cases that you have against him. So, maybe I just bet like Ludwig and then like one of Tommy or Fitz, and then I have plenty of room if I need to make like a live ad. Like even in the teens, I can make that happen. So
I don't hate that idea.
Because like you said, this is not a golf tournament where like the winner's gonna run away. So like you can kind of come back from one like pretty mediocre round. Like if you're two over par after round 1, I don't don't think you're out of it by any means. So
yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, actually, and it'll be good. I haven't really looked, so I probably should have, but I guess we'll have to take a close look at the wind too and see kind of what we have in store, because if that starts blowing on the weekend, things can get kind of wild out there.
100%. I can't even effort it because I don't even know like the best place, the best wind tower. But I'll just type in Bay Hill. What do we see here? Yeah, it's spotty. Like the most I see is like 15 gusts. Maybe like Sunday looks like maybe the heaviest wind day as of now, but yeah, nothing crazy out there. So I don't think we're in for like a 2022 rendition. But yeah, certainly, I think as greens firm up, you're going to see a lot of leaderboard gravity. Even if someone gets out there and shoots 5-6 under on Thursday, like I think it's probably a pretty good bet they go backwards as the week goes on.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll be on site at least another couple days over in Orlando. Of course, Matt's got content coming out later this week with his long shot article. He'll have all his picks at Matty Mills. I'll have my picks at flag hunting. And yeah, hit us up with any questions. We appreciate everyone tuning in. I know we tend to drone on about this kind of stuff. But yeah, hopefully you got some actionable info. We will see you in a week's time.